Good morning.
Good morning.
Like Kerry said, you said you're 20 minutes, but I think anyone that knows me, there are a few here that do know me, but certainly know I won't be 20 minutes anyway. Generally, I just like to keep things pretty short. I do a bit of formal and informal and on the way, and I'm certainly able to answer any questions or queries that I can to the best of my ability. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to formally welcome you all here to the Ashling Hotel. I'm delighted to have been asked to address your national conference. My job becomes a little easier here in the fact that I'm a father of a 23-year-old young girl named Colleen, who's been part of Home Share programme for the last several years. It would be an understatement of me to say that I am happy and delighted with the services you provide, and I mean an understatement as we're ecstatic with the services and the support that we get from a great team in Clare who've been very good to us. Colleen, and to maybe progress things with Colleen, that's what the most important person in our lives anyway. Colleen has moved into a residential service now 3 days a week, and Home Share once again is providing another night of Home Share support. She likes the family environment and the friends she meets along the way. I suppose been having a long-term interest and a long-time interest in the services themselves. It doesn't always do for each child what it says on the tin. So we need to mix and match and what's best. Colleen loves the family environment. I mean, our wish for Colleen is that someday that someone else will move of her own friends will actually come and share an apartment with her. Again, that may not work for other clients, but it will certainly work for Colleen. So last Thursday actually she moved. I met, it's a coincidence always that we come this morning last week. I was coming into Leinster House and I met Mary Keeley, former CEO of Brothers of Charity, who we would have had obviously our usual rows and arguments as you do along the way, but Mary would have been, I would say, single-minded in the view of the individually supported level of support, you know what I mean, for children with intellectual disability and adults with intellectual disability. That if they could live on their own, they needed to be supported in that environment. If they could do other things, we needed to support them in that area. And that was a model that I saw develop from the group and residential home setting to having 3 apartments open in Shannon this week. I mean, I didn't have any physical involvement in that part. Having another 2 being open in Newmarket, and I'm sure more around Ennis. But at all the time integrated with some Home Share and the respite house. And I think there's a good mix. You know, I think that's going to work for us into the future. I've been a long time advocate, as the ladies will suffice, come back a lot of years ago in the Temple Gate, and your services. During my term as chair of the Clare Federation of People with Intellectual Disability in the early 2000s, I encouraged that association to consider a pretty large grant or 2 in the beginning and to set up the services themselves. Because once I'd spoken to Patricia O'Mahony at the time, I got the flavour of what it was about, and I got it early. And my own organisation had like the usual charity organisations, we had the support funds, we had an awful lot of money in the bank. And fellas said to me, we were saving it for a rainy day. I want you to tell them I used in response to that, but we had to loosen up some funds, and they duly did. I've seen the value of your services from a financial point of view, and I suppose given that I'm a member of a government with another responsibility in making sure that all the sums add up at the end of the year. More importantly, I've seen the value of the services from a social and integration perspective. I work very closely with other families through my own support workers in Home Share Clare, so that they could also avail of the services and the experience that we would have had ourselves. It's not for everybody, you know. Some people, I suppose, the biggest challenge I find is that people don't want to let the children go to any service, and it takes a period of time to break that model down. They don't recognise the value of the service until their child is actually in the service, and then they come back generally a year or 2 later and say, Jesus, why didn't I do that 3 years ago? You know. I'm aware of the challenges facing the organisation. I've been in touch with Kieran on a number of issues, especially the one raised by your current chair in relation to the income that families are receiving, and protecting that similar to foster care parents. And I know that's a critical issue. I did raise it with the Minister for Finance. We are now doing the finance bill. They did improve the home carers grant, and there is flexibility around the terminology in that. They could allow for, I believe reading it, they could allow for parents caring for other children in their own home. But I think during the version of the finance bills for the House, we need to correct that now. Because if we don't do it now, it's next October. So we'll try and get that done. Okay, and get a bit of useful information there today in relation to that, where we can target, where some people have already availed of where the section 192B, he says to me, in the Revenue Commissioner side of the tax return, and people have already put their income on that and have been treated as exempt. That puts us in a position where we've now got, for example, it's already been done for a couple of people. If it is, we need to mirror that template across the country. I try and get those copies of those without the names on them, obviously, and see if we can actually get everybody treated like that. Because there is a challenge in that. You know, I mean, as much as we value the people that are providing that service on our behalf, we certainly don't want them taxed for it. No, but I'll be honest, I mean, I said, and name dropping advances, I would be very friendly with Michael Noonan, but I said it to him. He said to me, he said, I can't tax that really. And he said to me, honest? And I said, no. So Jesus, he said, we wouldn't be looking at him people. You know, that kind of way. So there isn't, you know, the revenue aren't coming down the road chasing people that are providing home care service. But by the same token, we need to protect that and enshrine it. So that's really where we need to go. I suppose in conclusion, and number one, to thank all of you that provide this service in your different, in your respective areas up and down the country. Because, you know, the way residential services are run and those models and funded, it would not be possible to deliver the extra 800,000-900,000 families that you support. In a sense, the money just wouldn't be there to roll it up from that basis. But what I think Home Share goes that little bit further, where it gives people the opportunity to come together, share stories, understand one another, coexist, and much of the time, a smile is all it takes to make it a better place. And I think if you look at the videos that we've seen of some of our children, that's tantamount to the service that they're getting, because they're happy where they are. And really that's, you know, once we've done that, I think that really is the journey, you know, completed. I've known many people in County Clare, in particular, and their stories are nothing but positives, and their family stories are nothing but positive. Their stories have been of love, friendship, happiness, growth, and so on behalf of me and mine, I'd like to thank you, because it has made a huge difference to our lives and our family's life. But most importantly, it has made a huge difference to Colin's life. And I could measure that with 20 more people that I know that are availing of the service. So again, I got to declare last night we got an education on the Lobbying Act. There's a new Lobbying Act, by the way, so I'll be lobbied. So we have to give now a report back on whatever meetings we've had. If you've met with a group to say so we're looking for more services, or we're looking for more tax breaks, or whatever it is. If you meet the AFM man going on the week and he's looking for something out down the street, we've now got this new system whereby we have to look at that. And we do meet people on the street, you know what I mean? We've got the recordings, but I think for any particular group, Jim would probably be familiar with this anyway. You should probably register yourselves as a lobbying group if you haven't done already. I'm sure you have. With this lobbying people. If you check the government website, www.lobbying.ie or whatever they are, but just for safety. Yeah, because what happens is, in the later down the road, we get some journalist who puts something, and he looks for an FOI and all the emails that may have transacted or the phone calls that took shape, and then they turn it into some other kind of a story. So it's important just that any group that's in contact with any member of government in relation to changing the rules or regulations or law on their behalf, just register as a lobbying group. I'm sure probably the bigger groups that are registered, you know, the brothers, probably and daughters, etc., will be familiar with that now. But we got good education in that last night now, so as to how it goes, you know. I mean, they keep telling you, but it isn't a problem, you know. There'll be a problem down the road for something if he doesn't have it recorded, you know. So I'm open to any form of questions, like Kieran said, do 20 minutes. So if anybody wants to ask us anything, you know, I think, look, the situation in relation to funding, by 2017, we'll be taking in as much tax as we pay out. You know, you take in 50 as well. Apple owns 1,000 more jobs in Cork. You know, there's plenty of jobs coming. That's what I'm saying to you. So once that happens, there should be more funding available to go into different resources, the resources that you provide. But simply we have to just balance the book like the initiative. I see RT Red turned that into a negative story yesterday saying Atlas tax investigation won't affect the 1,000 jobs in Cork. I mean, given that they employ 7,000 people there, I thought we would really stretch the limit with that statement, you know. We're glad to have them. I don't know what it's worth to Cork. That'll be 50 million a year to get that kind of business in there. But they're welcome here, obviously. If anybody's any questions, I'm quite happy to take.
Sorry, Tony Audrey Riley, I'm just wondering, in relation to the funding stream, would you see that it would ever be the case that funding will come directly down with the home sharing name on it? Sometimes it's very hard to bid for funding that you might want for resources, and sometimes central-based services would get, stronger looking maybe than the home sharing, whereas the home sharing would be considered maybe as a really positive option for families. So if the money came to the services tagged with the home sharing tag on it, it would benefit our services, I suppose, and allow us to expand the service.
I've asked Pat Healy, and I've sent him the documentation that already, that Gabriel sent me. That is the chair of the disability sector, the HSE, if they would consider that, and Kathleen Lynch. Because I think, and I agree with you, I think the problem is once the money goes into the big bucket, there's resources, and I would always try projects that are value for money. I've been in business background myself, you know what I'm saying, and I don't want to all down to the money, because the quality of service is super. But I mean, if you can have your child, your adult, whatever, in an appropriate environment that you're quite happy with, it's €75 or €100 a night, or it's going to cost you 300, 400, you're going to have to wait for an apartment, and it's going to be 5 years before we can get it. But I'd rather be doing the first one first. Now, home share won't answer all our challenges, obviously, but it can certainly support what we have.